Princess James couldn't carry Bill Russell's jockstrap. Michael McLean, brassballsvideos.com. I am an ex-minor professional hockey coach, ex-championship amateur hockey coach, turned 8-figure entrepreneur. You can download a free copy of my brand new book below at the link, brassballsvideos.com. You can print it off 5 ways to unfuck your life in the next 30 days. It's free. There's nothing to buy. Put in your email. I will email you a copy of the book for free within 5 minutes of receiving your email. Print it off. It's 22 pages. No theory, no fluff, no BS. It's just 100% pure content. If you're like me, from time to time, you got to work on getting your shit together. This is the book that can help you do that fast. brassballsvideos.com. So, Bill Russell is one of my all-time favorite professional athletes in history. Bill Russell is a top 1% badass athlete, man, champion. If there's a top 5 list of professional athletes that I admire through history, Bill Russell is on my top 5 list. I'm not talking about just basketball. I'm talking about top 5 list. So when it comes to players like Princess James or some of these other cupcakes, these whiners, these criers, they're not even on the list, not even close. But I just absolutely love the story of Bill Russell, what he came from, what he accomplished. And if you're not familiar with the story, I go into it a lot deeper in my newsletter, my June newsletter that's coming up. By the way, you can subscribe and pay whatever you want this month and this month only for my print newsletter. The link is below, badassletter.com, and pay whatever you want, and I'll ship you a copy of the newsletter. You can pay $1, you can pay $10, you can pay $99. I don't care either way. But one of the things that I talk about is the Bill Russell story and why I admire this man so much. So if you know a little bit about Bill Russell's story, the big part of the story is, he started his life in poverty, massive poverty. He was being raised by his mom and dad, and he had a younger brother in Louisiana. And when his father couldn't find work in the South, they actually moved. They picked up as a family and moved to Oakland, California. His dad was having a hard time finding any work. And actually, when they ended up in Oakland, California, they ended up in off and on in public housing, on and off of government assistance. So as poor as you could just imagine. And finally, his father found work in Oakland as a long-haul truck driver. And we all know that when a person's a long-haul truck driver, that means days, weeks, sometimes months away. So his dad would be away for weeks at a time. And then the worst of all tragedies struck when his dad finally found work. And Bill's mother suddenly passed away and died. So this threw the family into complete turmoil, as it would any young family. But here's the thing that changed everything for Bill Russell and his younger brother. Shortly after his mom passed away, his father pulled the family together, the 2 boys, and he sat them down for what Bill references in his book, which I read, as the most important family meeting, pep talk, whatever you want to call it. And Bill Russell talked about this. He said, you know, he went on in his basketball career to play for some of the greatest coaches in sports history. But he said the talk that his father gave him and his younger brother shortly after his mom passed away, he said was the most impactful and the most important talk that he had ever had as a young man. So his dad sat down with the two boys and he said, listen, we don't have the luxury of feeling sorry for ourselves. We're going through a traumatic event, a tragedy of losing your mother, but he remembers his father saying, we've got to get our act together now. As a family, we've got to get our act together now. We do not have the luxury of feeling sorry for ourselves. We don't have the luxury of time. We don't have even the luxury of mourning. We don't have the luxury. And his father said to the guys at the time, he said, listen, he said, I'm going to have to continue to work. I'm going to have to continue to drive a truck across the country to support you two boys. So regardless of how young you are, you're now going to have to figure things out. I call it FIO with my hockey players and FIO with my daughter Emery and FIO with my clients. Figure it out. It's a trait that we don't have anymore in society. Figure it out. So when Bill Russell's father sat down with the two boys, this was the main message. We don't have the time and we don't have the luxury of feeling sorry for ourselves. We don't have the luxury of a plan B. So he said, we're going to have to figure out how to cook. We're going to have to figure out how to do laundry. We're going to figure out how to run a household when I'm away. And on top of all that stuff, cooking and cleaning and doing laundry and cutting the grass and taking care of the home inside and out, he says, on top of that, you two boys are going to get an education. So what Bill Russell's dad was doing more than anything is he was leading his family. And if there's one thing that families are missing in 2024, it's having parents step up and lead, especially fathers, and saying, okay, these are the things that we need to do. These are the things that we need to figure out. And here's the expectations that are going to be met. We're going to get along. We're going to work together. We're going to cook. We're going to clean. We're going to organize. We're going to make appointments. And most importantly, you're going to get an education. And it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. It literally, the expectations set by mums and dads are the self-fulfilling prophecies. So it was no surprise that Bill Russell's father's expectations and standards became the reality. So they did learn how to cook. They did learn how to clean. They did learn how to take care of the property. They did learn how to take care of the house. They did learn how to get along as a team. And both boys ended up with a high school education. And they were thriving. Actually, Bill's younger brother ended up getting a full scholarship as a playwright to a school in America. So he was an academic success. And of course, Bill was playing basketball for the first time. You want to talk about adversity. You want to talk about stick-to-itiveness. Bill Russell started playing basketball in high school, and he got cut the first 2 times. Bill Russell got cut the first 2 times that he tried out for the high school basketball team. And instead of pouting, instead of feeling sorry for himself, instead of blaming somebody, he went back to work on the fundamentals. He was a raw player with almost no experience. So instead of playing the victim card, instead of being a cupcake about it, he went back to work and he worked on the fundamentals of the game. Every night after school, working on the fundamentals on the game. Even Michael Jordan was only cut one time from his varsity team, and Jordan, of course, came back from that, and the rest is history. But Bill Russell was cut twice, and he kept coming back. And it was interesting because once he focused on the fundamentals of basketball, it wasn't long until he was a dominant high school player. But it didn't start that way. It didn't start that way. It started with him not making the team twice. So here's where the story and the perseverance really takes over. His younger brothers at a good school in America as a playwright. Bill then got a scholarship to the University of San Francisco. And of course, the scholarships were critical because the father, he didn't have any money. He was still driving a truck. He didn't have any money for the boys to go to school. So both of them did so well. They got along so well. They worked so hard that they both got scholarships. One, an academic scholarship, and then Bill, an athletic scholarship. So Bill went off to the University of San Francisco, and this was his tipping point. This took him from being a very good player. He grew 3 inches the first year in college, and he absolutely started dominating NCAA basketball. Like all of a sudden, he just hit his growth spurt, and he smashed multiple NCAA records. And then in the 1950s, I think it was 1953, somewhere in the mid 50s, he led the American basketball team. It wasn't pros at the time. It was made up of college players. And Bill led that team to a gold medal. So he has a gold medal under his belt when he's also coming out of college. So it just got better and better for him as he just kept working on the fundamentals. He kept working on his game, and he was over time rewarded. And then when he graduated from college, he joined the Boston Celtics. And this is why I love the Celtics. This is one of the stories that attracted me to the Celtics when I was younger. And so Bill Russell, and compare this record to La Princess, or compare this record to other players who think they're the greatest in each and every sport. He goes on, Bill Russell joins the Celtics, and in 13 seasons in Boston, he wins 11, count them, 1-1. 11 NBA championship rings. In 13 seasons as a pro in Boston, Bill Russell led the Celtics to 11 NBA titles. Not 4, not 6, not 5, not even a Tom Brady 7. 11 NBA championship titles. That, my friend, puts him on the list of top 5, probably top 3 greatest NBA players ever. Jordan, of course, is the greatest of all time, in my opinion, in all sports, whether it be hockey, whether it be baseball, whether it be golf, whether it be tennis, whether it be football. I have Michael Jordan as the GOAT of all time. Not just basketball. I mean, La Victim is not even on my list. Not even on my basketball list. Maybe top 25. But when it comes to the greatest of all time, the GOAT of all time, you know, I have Wayne Gretzky as the greatest of all time in hockey, with Bobby Orr a close second. Baseball, of course, you have the great Babe Ruth. In golf, you have Tiger Woods and Jack Nicklaus. In football, of course, you have Tom Brady. Over time, maybe Patrick Mahomes. On that list, of course, Joe Montana and others. But man, oh man, Bill Russell, 11 league titles in 13 seasons. And the guy literally came from almost nothing. He had a father who believed in him. He had a father who led his family. And it's just a story in perseverance, in grit, in toughness, in stick-to-itness. And I think it's an incredible story that husbands and fathers and grandfathers and family leaders like today, this is exactly what our world needs more of. We need fathers like Bill Russell's who are working their asses off but take the time to set the expectation. He said to his boys, he said, he says, I'm going to be out on the road for weeks at a time. The last fucking thing I want to have to do is come home here and discipline you boys, or coach you boys, or worry about you boys. He said, you're going to have to be self-sufficient. You're going to have to grow up. You're going to have to wise up. You're going to have to smarten up, because we don't have the luxury. We don't have any other choice. We don't have the luxury of becoming victims. We don't have the luxury of whining and crying like you hear in today's world. He says we're going to have to man up, and we're going to have to figure things out. We're going to have to learn to build our own autonomy. We're going to have to be independent. We're going to have to be self-reliant. We're going to have to be self-responsible. And because he set these expectations as a father, even though he wasn't physically present, he was out busting his ass to financially support the family. The fact that he showed such outstanding leadership for his two boys, because he set the tone as a leader, working day and night, across the country, doing whatever it took to pay the bills so that these young boys could go to school. They could have a roof over their head. They didn't have to live in the projects. And because he showed this leadership and these high expectations, and he wasn't willing to settle for anything less. You boys are going to get an education. This is what's going to happen. It became a self-fulfilling prophecy. So that's the story of Bill Russell. And if his dad isn't this, if he's not the king, if he doesn't set these expectations, if he doesn't treat these boys like young men, if he doesn't promote them and insist that they figure things out, you could see how people in any of these situations can become victims, how they can become whiners and not winners, and how Bill Russell and his brother's life could have become something completely different. And I just think it's an incredible story. The 11 championships, makes him one of the greatest of all time, period, in any sport. But that's not what I took from reading this book. From reading this book, I took how the importance of leadership, from being a father who steps up and who sets the tone and sets expectations. And that's what we're missing in today's world, is kings that lead their family, champions that lead their family. Because you know what? Our children and our grandchildren, they don't want to be leaders. They want to be led. They're just children. They're just teenagers. They're just young adults. They want to be led. And when a person steps up like his father did, you can see the difference that it makes. That expectation, that standard. And we're not our highest aspirations. We're our lowest standards. And what we expect and what we tolerate, we're going to get more of. And Bill Russell's father decided that, you know what? We're not going to be victims. We're not going to become, wimps, and we're not going to become excuse makers, and we're not going to become do-nothings, and we're not going to use this as an excuse to make a joke of our lives. We're not going to use this as an excuse to make a joke of our lives. In fact, we're going to use this as fuel, as gasoline, to come together as a family. And we're going to figure things out. And we're going to figure things out on our own, and we're going to win, and we're going to be successful, and we're going to work, and we're going to come through difficult and dark times, and we're going to come out on the other side as a team, because we're going to work and we're going to hang together. And that exactly is what happened. And 2 boys, successful children, and 11 NBA titles later, that's the story that was set at that family meeting years before, after the most traumatic, dark, sad thing could ever happen to a family, and that being the loss of a parent. And instead of it destroying the family, with his dad's leadership, it became the focal point, the defining point, the gasoline, the fuel for these boys to say, you know what? We're going to step up, we're going to work together, and we're going to figure this out on our own. And there's no damn way that we're going to use this as an excuse for anything less than that. So this month only, I'm doing a Godfather offer for you. If you're not a subscriber to my monthly print newsletter, there's never been a better time. The link below, badassletter.com. I'm letting you this month for June. You go to that site and you pay whatever you want. It's usually $100 per month, but this month, okay, because you don't know me or you don't trust me or you're not sure, I'm giving you the Godfather offer. What's a Godfather offer? A Godfather offer is an offer that's too good to refuse. I'm making you an offer one time to join my brotherhood. And instead of $100 a month, $97 a month, I will ship you the June newsletter this June at the end of this month. You pay whatever you want. You go to the link below, badassletter.com, and all you have to do is pay whatever the hell you want. Between you and me, it costs $30 for me to ship, to print, and to write a newsletter and send it and get it to your doorstep. But I don't care about any of that. You pay whatever the hell you feel you want. If you got $1, you got $1. If you got $30, you got $30. If you got $50, you got $50. If you got $100, you got $100. I don't care. There's no strings attached either way. I'm going to ship you the 22-page newsletter no matter what. But here's the thing. I'm taking a chance on you, and you're taking a chance on me. And this is a brass balls offer because no other coaches or consultants are going to let you pay whatever you want. It's the same with my books. It's like I'm undouching my marketing. I'm saying, okay, you know what? You don't know me, you don't trust me, or maybe you don't understand what I'm offering. So you put a little bit of skin in the game, I put a little bit of skin in the game. And after 1 month, if you decide, you know what, Michael, this I didn't get anything out of this newsletter, then you can cancel, no harm, no foul. So the link is below, the Godfather offer. I'll put it up there for a few more days this week. But it's really that simple. Pay whatever you want to join my print monthly newsletter. It's called the Michael McLean Newsletter, and my newsletter, it's pretty simple. It's the only world-building newsletter on God's blue earth. Well, what the hell is a world-building newsletter? A world-building newsletter is I teach you how to be unfuckwithable. Do you think that's important in 2024? To become a weaponized man, to become a bulletproof man, to become 10 feet tall, to literally become unfuckwithable. Well, what does unfuckwithable mean? Well, what unfuckwithable means is I teach you how to finally live life and do business on your own terms. You're never going to be able to do that with your marketing, with your marriage, with your children, with your health, with your fitness, until you have the mindset and the tools to literally become weaponized, to literally become bulletproof in today's world. In other words, you're going to be taught, I teach you to do the opposite of the cupcakes, of the low testosterone guys, the poodles, the neutered house cats, all the men that aren't showing up in today's world. I teach you each month in my newsletter how to do the exact opposite. I teach you literally through marketing, through money, through fitness, through health, through marriage, through all the things that I'm learning. I teach you how to become unfuckwithable. And that's what this newsletter is all about. So you can test drive it this month. You can test drive it this month for pay whatever you want, $1, $50, $100, no strings. I don't care. You're not going to hurt my feelings either way. And after 30 days, if you want to stay, you stay. If you want to cancel at any time, you can. I trust you to be fair. The link is below. Badassletter.com is the link below. Click on it. Put in whatever amount you want to pay this month, and I'll ship you out real print tree-killing newsletter to your doorstep at the end of the month. And that's what I'm covering, by the way. I'm doing a special report inside this month's newsletter, very similar to my Bill Russell story, where I'm going to share with you 10 brand new ways, 10 brand new ways in my own life as well, 10 brand new ways that you can become unfuckwithable in the next 30 days. These are outside of the 5 ways that I share in my book. These are 10 brand new ways that I'm using in my business and in my personal life to become even more unfuckwithable, more weaponized, more bulletproof, and 10 new ways to live life and do business on my own terms. There's my Godfather offer. You can't refuse. Pay whatever amount you want at the link below, and I look forward to sending you my print newsletter at the end of this month. Remember the great Bill Russell. 11 championships in 13 seasons. That, my friend, is what winning looks like. That's what championship effort looks like. That's what execution looks like. That's what one of the greatest of all time to ever do it looks like. And that is a story that should inspire any father watching, any husband watching, any grandfather watching. The power of belief in the people in your life. The power of believing in your queen, in believing in your children, in believing in your grandchildren, in believing in the people that work with you, and the power of setting standards and setting expectations and showing your people in your world, in your home, in your business, how to FIO, figure it out, and the power of self-reliance and responsibility and what that can mean to a person in your life and what it meant for Bill Russell and his brother when his dad believed in them, set standards, led the family, and said, boys, we're going to figure this out. We're going to get an education. We're going to work together. We're going to learn how to do things. We're going to learn how to be self-reliant. We're going to learn how to have autonomy and personal sovereignty. And the rest was history over time. Sign up below, pay what you want for my newsletter this month. 2 words that changed my life, 2 words that can change yours. Be relentless.